GBNews can reveal that almost 600 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel today. That brings the total of illegal entries for 2026 to just under 2,200. It's higher than the totals at this point last year and the year before. Delighted to say we can get all the numbers and the background on this from GBNews' Home and Security Editor, Mark White, who I do not get to talk to often enough these days, Mark, but these figures are extraordinary for February. What's driven this surge?
Yeah, it's always great to chat to you, whatever the horrible nature of the story might be. And this is another one. I mean, really, in terms of the numbers crossing, this was a phenomenally busy day in the Channel. You don't normally see numbers like this, close to 600 crossing, until we're well into the summer months. Normally at this time of the year, you might get a couple of hundred. That would be considered a busy day. And the reason is simple. We're into the winter months at the moment. The weather conditions in the Channel are not conducive to these crossings. And in fact, since the beginning of the year, they've been atrocious. Yet, despite that, Bev, we have had, as you just said there, around 2,200 small boat migrants arrive on our shores in the UK. That is indicative, according to senior maritime security sources that I've been speaking to, of a record year ahead in terms of small boat arrivals. We can tell you more sobering news of about 4,500 migrants who are currently in the camps, the makeshift camps around Calais and Dunkirk. Again, this is unusual. There is not normally that number of people in the camps during the winter because there aren't as many opportunities to cross to the UK. All this points to a very busy year ahead, Bev.
And Mark, do we have any deterrent in place? What would Labour claim that they are doing successfully? They seem to say that they've got a decent number of returns in 2026. Am I being too kind there?
Well, interestingly, in the morning, we are going to get the latest return figures coming out from the Home Office to give us an indication of those they're sending back. And yes, returns are up. At last count, about 50,000 illegal migrants returned or foreign national offenders returned to their home countries since Sir Keir Starmer took office. But here's the kicker. The vast majority of that 50,000 are not those who are coming across the English Channel in small boats. They are, as I said, foreign national offenders, foreigners who've come to the UK, who've committed a crime, been jailed for that, and then are subsequently deported. There are also those that come here on work or tourist visas and then start working illegally in the economy. Others that have arrived and began working illegally. It's the low-hanging fruit that is being rounded up and sent back to their home countries. Those who are coming across the English Channel, the most visible manifestation of the illegal migrant crisis, very few of those, at this stage anyway, are being returned to their home countries. And we are now, after about 8 years of this crisis, at around 200,000 migrants who have crossed the English Channel illegally in that time. That is a significant number for a country the size of the UK. It's the size of a small city, absolutely, and it has an impact. And as I say, it's the most visible manifestation of what is a wider illegal migration crisis, where it's estimated that between 1.5 million people are here illegally and working in the illegal economy.
Yeah, and if you'll excuse the pun, Mark, there is now some clear water between what the Reform Party might do, what the Green Party might do. On this particular issue, there are genuine points of difference now that we can identify. Would you just bring, particularly my American guests here, up to speed on what the latest policy ideas would be, let's say, from those two parties which are at either end of the spectrum on this issue?
Well, we know as far as the Green Party is concerned, effectively for them, it's all about open borders. You know, that those they believe that have an impending need to come to the UK to seek refuge should be allowed in, even if they cross into the country through illegal means. Reform have taken a much more hardline approach. They want to go further than the current government is doing, in the terms that they want to detain all those arriving by small boats here before they are then removed from the country as quickly as possible. Removing them from the UK is easier said than done, because you have the whole apparatus around the migrants in terms of the human rights lawyers, the activist groups, the charities that are there offering them advice all throughout their time trying to get to the UK, and then when they're in the UK fighting on their behalf to keep them here. So it's enormously difficult, even though the rhetoric from Reform is more hardline. There is a chink of potential light ahead for Reform in the form of Jordan Bardella, who is the French presidential candidate, tipped to do well in the upcoming presidential elections, saying that he would allow a Reform government to return migrant boats back to France. Now, if that was to happen, if those who come across the Channel are immediately sent back to France, that could end the small boats crisis within a couple of weeks, because no migrant is going to pay £3,000 to a criminal gang to smuggle them across the Channel only to be returned to the point of departure.
Yeah, they don't want a return trip, do they? Mark, thank you so much. Really great to see you. Mark White there, our Home and Security Editor.
Here's what most people don't realise. Your personal data isn't just floating around. It's being bought and sold every single day by data brokers. That means employers, strangers, scammers, and even criminals can access it. And that's how identity theft, fraud, and harassment starts. Now, sure, you could try removing it yourself, but it takes hours of forms and emails, and even then, it usually pops right back up. That's why this video is brought to you by Incogni. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and demands your information is deleted from their databases, and they keep on doing it to make sure it stays gone. And they've just launched an unlimited plan with custom removals. So if your info appears on some random website, you can paste the link and their privacy team will personally work to get it taken down. It's simple. Click the link in the description, create your account, give permission, and they handle the rest. Head to incogni.com/GBnews. And with the code GBNews, you can get a huge 60% off an annual plan. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code now. It works out at less than a coffee a month. It's also totally risk-free for 30 days. Take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. And a big thanks to them for supporting the channel.
Let's talk to my panel about this. Colin, when you hear what a mess we're in the UK, do we just sound like absolute mugs?
Somewhat. Because we have a 3,000-mile...
impossible to offend. Don't feel you have to be polite.
Well, I think there's the situation analogous. We have a 3,000-mile southern border here in the United States. And under the Biden years and the previous presidents, there was at one point 250,000 people streaming across that at its high point a month. Fast forward, no legislation changes, nothing else except for a new president with a new set of priorities on immigration. Now illegal crossings at the southern border are zero. So all it takes is a change of leadership.
And the will, Richard, isn't that what President Trump has, which Biden did not have? He wasn't bothered. He didn't care about millions of people coming over the border. It wasn't important to him.
I do think Labour should learn a lesson from what Trump's done. Look, Trump's popularity is miserable.
Can we just clip that for a minute?
Yes.
Richard Goodstein,
yes,
our committed lefty there.
Yes, indeed. Trump's popularity is miserable. The one thing I think everybody will give him credit for is sealing that border. And what did he do? He put resources into it, right? This is not magic. He hasn't built a wall, but he's put resources there, and people now know this is not a smart thing to do. So I think that's a message that it seems to me Labour could replicate if they were so inclined, and politically, frankly, they'd be very silly not to.
Before we go to Michelle, let's just remind ourselves what President Trump said about illegal migration last night, and could we say the same about Britain? Have a listen.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Michelle Donnell, let's bring you in. Under your Conservative government, we never heard the strong rhetoric that the kind that we just heard there from President Trump. Is that the problem? Nobody really cares.
I'm not sure that nobody cares. I don't think that the current government get it. I think that my government that I was in did get it, but went about it all the wrong way. And they should be learning from our mistakes, really. That unless you use your nuclear weapons on this, it's not actually going to shift the dial. You know, tinkering around the edges is not good enough. And what you've seen Starmer do is tokenistic, smoke and mirrors. We're getting ripped off by the French now. We're paying them a fortune. It's not actually bringing it down. And that's why you've got both Reform and the Conservative Party saying, we need radical change. We need to leave the ECHR. We need to actually tackle this head on. And nothing is going to change under this government with their current tinkering. And that's the reality of the situation that we're in.
So what was stopping the Tories in a very clear, you know, not necessarily the ideology. If you say the will was there, the belief was there, that people needed to not be so incentivised, what stopped the Conservatives, Michelle?
So I do honestly believe that Rwanda was a good plan. I'm not sure whether it would have solved the problem, but it certainly would have helped because it would have took away that pull factor, that incentive. It would have broken the business model to a big extent. And we did see, you know, remember that 1 week where we saw that panic arising. We saw that happening in Ireland where there was where they were thinking crumbs are all going to come to us, and there was real momentum. And people thought for a minute, golly, this is actually going to fix it. And then Rishi called the election early, and we didn't actually get a flight off. So who knows what would have happened if we'd have got a flight off. I think it would have been a big dramatic change, but I think now we've really got to go for the nuclear. As I said, we've got to leave the ECHR. We've got to stop messing around the edges. Starmer doesn't appreciate how important this is to the general public, and it is one of the reasons that I really believe they're going to lose the by-election. It's just another thing where they're just not in touch with why people care about this so much. When they're struggling and they're seeing people come in illegally, it's just not fair. It's about fairness, isn't it?
But do you think that Kemi Badenoch would leave the ECHR? Is her heart in it? She's also a lawyer.
Well, she's been very, very clear that that is the policy. She will not allow anybody to stand in the next general election for Parliament that doesn't sign up to that. So you don't have that situation where you have some of your MPs rebelling or being nervous on the issue. So she's been very forthright on it. And look, she was around that cabinet table too. She felt the same frustrations about the fact that we weren't actually delivering on the main priority of the British public. And we can't do it. We couldn't do it again as a party. We were booted out in big dramatic style, mainly because there was a lot of reasons, but mainly because of that massive cock-up.
Yeah, and mainly because of the small boats, because just a reminder to our American panel here. Now, I know these numbers sound little to you guys because you lot talk in trillions in this country, never mind billions and millions. But the accommodation alone for illegal migrants costs us between £5 and £8 million of taxpayer money per day. And we spend £13 million per day on asylum support in total. So it is something that, frankly, we cannot afford. It would be lovely if we could just open our doors and say, everyone come and live with us and it'd be marvellous. fabulous and everyone's going to integrate and it's all going to be fabulous. That, unfortunately, is utopian thinking. Now, on the issue of illegal migration, Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary, has said these small boats crossings are utterly unacceptable and the vile people smugglers behind them are wreaking havoc on our borders. Protecting the UK border is my priority as Home Secretary, and I will explore all options to restore order to our immigration system. Just get on with it and do it then. Now, you may have heard some discussion around the Gorton and Denton by-election, which is taking place on Thursday, February the 26th. That's tomorrow. The by-election was triggered after the resignation of Andrew Gwynn. The Conservatives have announced Charlotte Cadden as their candidate. Hannah Spencer is the Green Party's candidate. Jackie Percy has been announced as the Lib Dems candidate. Matt Goodwin is standing for Reform. Angelica Stogia is for the Labour Party. Advance UK have Nick Buckley. Sebastian Moore is the Social Democratic Party candidate. The Rejoin EU Party announced Joseph O'Macara as their candidate. Dan Clark from the Libertarian Party UK, Sir Oinkalot from the Monster Raving Loony Party, and Hugo Wills is a candidate for the Communist League election campaign.